Hello, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be explaining the control of temperature within the human body. Now firstly, I'm going to say why it's important to control it. Now our body's temperature, the optimum temperature, is about 37 degrees. This is because that's the best temperature for our enzymes in our body to work, and enzymes control chemical reactions. Without these chemical reactions we would die. So it's important that our body temperature is controlled very carefully. And if it gets too hot or too cold, our body needs to quickly readjust it to make sure it gets back to that correct level. So how is it detected? Well, in the brain, we have a part of the brain called the thermoregulatory centre. So thermo meaning temperature, regulatory meaning regulatory, and that detects the temperature of the blood that flows through it. In addition to this, we also have temperature receptors in our skin that send signals back to the brain, letting it know the temperature. So that's how it's detected. So combination of the thermoregulatory centre in the brain and our skin. Now we need to look at what changes happen to the body if we get too hot or cold. Now they're quite simple, but I'll just go through them and explain how they work. So I'll go through firstly what happens if we're too hot. So firstly, if we're too hot, we have blood vessels close to our skin. And what can happen is these blood vessels, if we're too hot, they get wider. So the blood vessels get wider. This allows more blood to flow close to the surface of the skin. And this then allows that heat carried in the blood to be released from the body. Okay, so that heat would then be removed from the body because the blood is flowing close to the skin. Now you should all be familiar with this. When someone's hot or if they've just been exercising, they look red. That's because more blood is flowing close to the skin. Key point is that the vessels don't get closer to the skin, they just get wider, allowing more blood to flow closer to the skin. Next one, if we're too hot, we start to sweat, which is the release of sweat from sweat glands in our skin. How that cools us down is that the sweat evaporates. So sweat evaporates, and as it evaporates, it removes heat from our body. So that's how sweat is able to cool us down. In addition, on our skin we also have hairs. When we're hot, those hairs lie flat, so we don't trap a layer of air. So I'll come on to that when we talk about cold. Now, if we're too cold, we have some different responses to the environment. Now, if we're too cold, obviously, the blood vessels close to the skin, instead of getting wider, they get narrower. And that retains the heat within our body and allows us to direct our blood towards our vital internal organs that we need to keep warm. So when we're too cold, the blood vessels get narrower, meaning less blood goes close to the skin, so we lose less heat. Sweat glands obviously don't release any sweat. Muscles. So what can happen when we're too cold is our muscles start to contract, sort of fairly randomly, which leads to shivering. Now that can actually heat us up, because when the muscles contract, it means they're respiring more. And a byproduct of respiration is heat. So that allows us to warm up. So shivering warms us up because it causes the muscles to respire. And finally, if we're too cold, our hairs can stand on end, and this traps a layer of air around our body. Now this helps us stay warm, this warm insulating layer of air. Now this obviously isn't that functional in humans because we're not really that hairy, but in our sort of ape relatives, like chimps and gorillas, this is a very useful method of keeping warm. Okay? So that is thermoregulation and temperature control. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter @Rushcliffe Bio. Thank you.